Louisiana versus all y'all. Jarrett Roser here with Billy Joe Tolliver, who obviously a more than 10-year veteran of the NFL, and folks in Louisiana will know from his time with the New Orleans Saints. And more recently, you've gotten into working with some of these young quarterbacks coming up through the high school ranks around Louisiana lately, and we're going to talk about some of those kind of lead through. There's some great young talents coming up right now through Louisiana high schools. But Billy Joe, man, appreciate you taking a few minutes to visit and chat about some of these guys. How are you doing overall?
Yeah, doing great, Jed. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Tell me a little bit about how you got into this side of things. I think it's just been in what, the last couple of years you started working with some of these guys. What kind of sparked that for you, and how has that gone so far?
Well, I've kind of, ever since I retired, I've always, if, a kid needed some help, I always, stepped out and helped him, footwork and some things like that from, Texas and from the Arklatex basically. And, I moved down here, and one day I'm on the driving range at Southern Trace, and Brock Berlin came up to me and asked me if I would work with a kid because he didn't have time to do it. He was coaching his kid's baseball team and had a bunch of things going. And, of course you ask the simple questions. Can the kid play? Are you teaching a kid from scratch? How old is he? Things like that. And I said, send me some film and let me look at him. And he sent me the film, and I watched 2 plays, and I told him, yeah, I'll work with the kid. So, I just started working with Landry, Lyddy down in Shreveport. And then I moved to Baton Rouge, and Panamsky and Stingley and those guys are starting the Elite Football Academy. So we're working with some guys through that, and going to get some more quarterbacks and skill position players, and kind of teach them more of the nuances of the position and how to get better and things like that.
For a guy that played that position at the highest levels, how much of a transition or learning experience has it been for you to go back to more of the teaching? Because sometimes that can be a bit of an adjustment for a guy that's used to performing at a high level to then learn the teaching aspect of it as well. Did that present some challenges at first that you had to kind of learn through on your own, or was it a pretty smooth transition right off the bat?
No, it's just an expectation level deal. Near the end of my career and then into my first 5 years of retirement, got a lot of job offers to coach in the NFL. And I just never wanted to do that. I wanted to coach at the college level. I never wanted a finished product. You want to make a kid, help a kid out and do these things. And, but as far as it goes with the high school kids, they're not going to see it all. They're not going to, the timing's not going to be, they just don't know some things. And then it's fun to watch them as they grow into it. And they're all sponges, they pick it up. If you're going to play the position, you got to live it. You got to eat it, breathe it, sleep it, drink it, and all these kids do, they want to be great. And so, it just depends on, are they getting the right information soaking into that sponge? And once they do, man, it's just awesome to watch the growth and the things that they do. And, you'll teach them one thing and they'll go into next week's game and, they'll see the corner sink and push the fade outside when he's trying to guard the seam on 3 deep look. And, it's pretty awesome to see them, have that growth.
And as I mentioned, there are a lot of really talented young passers coming up right now. I think we're looking at one of the best overall crops probably to come through Louisiana in several years. And you've had a chance to work with a couple of them. We'll talk about Landry in that 2022 class and a few others for 2022 and 2023. But I guess kind of generally before we get into one by one, what have you noticed from just some of the talent coming through? Because it is a position that Louisiana as a state hasn't produced as much as you see maybe in the DB range or the D line, but it looks like there's some tremendous young athletes coming through at quarterback right now.
Well, the 21, 22, 23 class, they're all going to be pretty strong for Louisiana and across the nation. 7-on-7 has changed the way guys are playing the position now. They're coming up and playing 7-on-7 at an early age, and getting out there by the time they get into high school and competing in that stuff. And they're learning to see grass out in front of throws and see defenders and kick coverage and everything else, and banjo in the red zone and all these other things that, they don't know what it means. They just see it and get an opportunity to do it. So, these cats are coming out, and there's a lot of talent. You can go back to the days when, it was pro throw and Ferguson and Bradshaw and Woodley, and Tommy Maddox was a Shreveport guy, before he moved off, and Stan Humphreys. There was a bunch of guys in Louisiana. Burt Jones, let's don't forget about arguably one of the greatest to ever play the game. There was just great quarterbacks coming from this area, and then there was a little lull, and then now it's back to where recruiters are going to be storming this state.
Yeah, we've seen him come in already for sure. And I guess kind of diving into some of these guys individually and what you see from them, whether in opportunities to work with them one-on-one or what you've seen from some film. I'll start with some of these juniors about to be seniors, and we can start with the LSU commit Walker Howard from St. Thomas More, who is one of the headline prospects for that 2022 class. Tigers look like they're getting a really good one. What have you seen from Walker at this stage in his development?
Well, the first time I looked at Walker on film, it was atrocious is a bad word, but it was really bad. And I couldn't see how, I could see the talent was there, but I didn't see how people were just jumping to that rating when all they've seen is a guy in shorts at 7-on-7 in the underwear Olympics or at some camp or something like that, because his footwork was so bad. And somewhere along the way, the next set of film I saw for his junior season, this kid got good. He either his dad worked with him because his dad was a player, or the instruction he's getting from his own coaching staff at his high school must be outstanding, because his footwork is so much better. His anticipation's getting better. He's still more of a pick and stick guy. But, man, I'm expecting some great things for him coming into his senior year. This kid, he grew leaps and bounds over just the one film session I saw. And, it hurt all these kids with the COVID not having training camp, spring ball, and going into all this stuff and just winging it. And, obviously Walker's putting in the work on his own to get better, because he has improved tremendously. And, there's no question he can make all the throws. He's got the ability to extend plays. He's accurate passer. He doesn't throw a lot of balls up for grabs, doesn't take a lot of sacks, the things you look for. But, he's just growing. I'm pretty impressed with him right now.
Another guy you mentioned at the onset of this, Landry Lyddy, another guy in that 2022 class, Calvary Baptist standout, just got his first year as the varsity starter and has a phenomenal season, leads the Cavs to a state championship game in which he throws for more yards than any quarterback in the history of Louisiana state championship games, which says quite a bit when we talk about some of those names from years past. But your close work with Landry, how much have you seen from him from a potential standpoint, and then his continued development to sort of continue to reach closer and closer toward that direction?
Well, the very first day I worked with Landry, we were working straight drop back stuff. And, the first thing you notice about him was his feet were just phenomenal. And this is a kid who hadn't had any work. He just naturally had that in him. And his feet were great. His base was good. Everything was – and he was – he soaked up everything you told him. And, he did a fantastic job with it. And we do some work over the summer and then bang, here they come and they change staff, or they change coordinators and systems, and A.J. Smith comes in and they throw in the run and shoot. And, I played in the run and shoot. I understand it. And so now our drop has to change, so we spent a lot of time working on that and working through this. But, the one thing about Lyddy is, you don't have to know anything about football to look at this kid and know that this kid right here is special, because all you have to do is look at ball placement. And, man, he's just got a natural ability to throw the guy open, throw the football caught. and he's getting a PhD in throwing the football in this run and shoot, which, I'm sure these other guys have great systems and all this other stuff, but in the run and shoot, every receiver is making an adjustment every play. So you have to know what you're doing at every position, because when your foot hits the ground, the ball's got to come out. And he's gotten to where he understands best located defender, and because of that, and he understands defense when it's a middle of field open, middle of field close, and who's kicking down and who's cross keying and things like this. All the little things that he's learning going throughout, he takes advantage of defenses, because when they come down, he knows he might pass up number one, because, he might be an open guy in the flat that he may pass up because he knew the guy kicked down and he's going to get the switch on the backside and push the seam for a touchdown. And that's just the growth that he's had in the system and his ability to play beyond the X's and O's. You take a kid like Walker Howard, who his ability to play beyond the X's and O's are with his feet and extending plays, where Lyddy's ability to play beyond the X's and O's is more of his cerebral side on knowing where to go with the football and where they made a mistake. And, it's amazing because he's just got an uncanny ability and this is nothing that I taught the kid. He had it coming in. Just the ability to see the throw, see out in front of it, and know where defenders are, and placing footballs on guys' back shoulders and things like that without even having to think about it. Balls on time and these things. And, you watch all this stuff and you see a kid like that with great anticipation that he's really never played it. He played a little bit of freshman, transferred, didn't get many reps, and then bang, you're thrown into it. And to have the kind of anticipation he has and the ball skills he's got, it's just he's a heck of a player, I'll tell you that. And somebody going to get a steal with him.
And that's what I was going to ask you too. So of these 6 guys that we're going to look at, some of them have the big offers or are committed, like Walker to LSU. A couple of them haven't had as much college attention. Landry is sitting there with a UAB offer, and he's got several other schools that are certainly aware of him. La Tech has monitored him closely. Memphis is aware. And I know there's been this thought process with a lot of colleges that they want to see the head coach wants to see the guy in front of them at some point. And this past year kind of messed some of that up with COVID shutting everything down. But are you surprised how limited his recruitment has been thus far in terms of actual offers in hand at the moment? Because, again, he's a guy that went out there and torched defenses all year and has all those abilities that you just talked about.
Well, I'm not really shocked at it. Just because he's a late bloomer in the position. COVID took away Elite 11, Under Armour All-American, took away camps, took away all these things that these guys get to go to that he really didn't go to, but a couple of them in his sophomore season. So, nobody really knew about him. Chad Morris knew because, they were begging to sign him in Arkansas back then. Then Chad gets fired. Things just move along. But, after the signing day, I think it's tomorrow. I'm not sure, but I think February 3rd signing day. Now you move on and start getting ready for the next group, and he'll start coming to the forefront. The guys will start seeing it, but it's tough on the kid. All kids they want to get those offers, and as you know, everything's offer driven. Yeah. The second an LSU gets on you, well, guess what? Here comes Ole Miss, and and everybody And Sarkisian, what's he going to do down at Texas? He's got the tape. He'll see. He'll look at it. And there's a bunch of guys. Everybody in the country's got the tape. But you just go through it and see where it goes. And then all of a sudden, all the services come in and do their ridiculous stuff. Well, now all of a sudden the guy's got 6, Power 5 offers. He was a no-star 2 weeks ago, but now he's a 4-star. So you go through all that stuff. But the coaches will do their own evaluation, and I trust that. I don't care what some service says.
Got you. And a guy that just transitioning to the 2023 class, a guy that was on everyone's radar off of last name, if nothing else, before people probably even saw him throw a football. Arch Manning at Newman was a guy that when you have that pedigree of Archie and Peyton and Eli, and I mean, for folks in Louisiana, know Cooper as well. He's a name that people started being really curious about very early, and then they've seen him take those steps and be a freshman that started for that team and be a sophomore that came back looking the part that much more after a big growth spurt and a lot of work with Nelson Stewart down there at Newman. What have you seen from Arch thus far, the first half of his high school career?
Well, there's really nothing to say on Arch. Anything anybody could say, it will get fixed. This kid definitely can play. He's got the goods. I think he's ranked number 1 in the class of 23, probably number 4 or 5 nationally. He's a good player, and he's going to get better, and any shortcomings that he may have right now coming out of his sophomore season, the first family will fix it. They don't need me to sit there and look at him and say, but again, it'd probably be Archie call me up and say, hey, take a look at Arch, get him over there and, work some things with him. It's just a trust factor. But, this kid, cerebral with his legs, everything, he plays beyond the X's and O's, and he's going to, I'm sure once Peyton and Eli, but, Arch looks more like Archie and Cooper with his athleticism than Peyton and Eli. Of course, Eli had that when he was at Ole Miss. He could take off, but he looks more like them. But at some point, you're going to have a guy like Peyton's going to look at him one day and say, hey, man, why am I watching this film and your chin's coming up on the deep ball? Your chin's coming up because your eye's following the football. And, now you're losing accuracy on your deep ball. But, if you're going to start critiquing Arch Manning, then you're just wasting your time because, the first family of football is going to go in and fix all that. You don't even have to worry about it. Yeah. But he is definitely going to be a player. Everything that's there is, it's all the signs are pointing in the right direction. And it's unfair to go into him because he's got a mountain in front of him where everybody else has a hill. I've got a hill to climb. He's going to have to be the next Manning. And so the expectation level is going to be so high on him. And fortunately for him, he's in a family that their expectation level is they want greatness every day, but they're no more important than the guy next to you. If you think you're important, leave your trash on the street for a month and the trash man not pick it up, and he'll tell you who's more important, him or you. And so, he's a grounded kid, great family, and, there's going to be enough great things said about him. But he won't fall into the trap of, like Jack Elway, poor Elway's kid, everywhere he went, it was, well, your arm's not as strong as John. Give me a break. This kid's he's the next Manning in line. And basically all he is the next quarterback. And he's going to do what he does, and he's going to do it well.
Another member of that 2023 class, Eli Holstein at Zachary High, certainly doesn't have to worry about living up to being the next Manning, but he follows a big brother in Caleb Holstein. Yeah. That was a fantastic high school quarterback and off at college now. And Eli got his first chance as a starter this past year as a sophomore. Has an LSU offer. Kentucky's come in. He's on, again, a lot of radars for a lot of notable programs around the country. What have been some of your impressions of Eli through the first portion of his high school career?
Well, fortunately, and, I don't like to make final decisions on a kid. You get highlight films is what you get. I like to watch entire games and see how a kid handles everything, the ups and downs of the game. And I like to see a kid in person. Like I haven't seen Walker Howard in person. I hadn't seen Arch in person. I don't need to see Arch in person. I'm just telling you that. But I hadn't seen most of these kids in person. But fortunately, I've seen Eli in person. He's a big, strong kid, big athletic kid. He can drive the football. All he needs is one solid off season, working the right things and understanding what they're trying to do to him. so his anticipation picks up, and he doesn't have to make off-schedule plays as much. And now they have to defend the entire field on him because now he's branched out. The coaches trust what he's doing and things like this. But Eli Holstein's got a future ahead of him. He's a different kind of player than his brother, but he is a competitive kid, and he'll get out there and mix it up with you. And I like Eli. He's gonna go places as well.
You mentioned his athleticism. He's one of several of these guys that goes out there and plays some basketball too, and he can get up and dunk on you. And that was, I think, his dad will kind of hype his basketball side almost as much as his football side because he can do some things as an all-around athlete as well.
Yeah, he's got a lot of talent. He's got natural ability to him, and kid works hard. He puts in the work. He throws a little bit of a heavy ball right now. But there are some things that, we worked on a couple of things with elbow position and things like this and how he drops back where his head is. He's always a half step behind the midline, so he's shutting down 30% of his vision. Little things like this that he learns as we go. And hopefully this spring we'll get a lot more work in with these kids and just really dial them in.
Rhys Mooney, another multi-sport athlete at Denham Springs, the guy that caught a lot of recruiting attention as a baseball prospect initially, and then has had a lot of football offers come into play over the past year. He's another 2023 guy that's he might have as many offers as Arch, at least that we know of. The Mannings are kind of close to the vest with some of the recruiting stuff, but you see an offer for Rhys Mooney every few days, it feels like. What have you seen from him? He's a guy that got an opportunity to play for Denham this past year because of a senior being injured, but just kind of a little bit more limited in the opportunities that he had than some of these other guys that took over as starters this past year. What has stood out about Reese from what you've had a chance to see of him thus far?
Well, I mean, understand, Jarrett, that I'm not ever trying to bash a kid. I want them to get as good as they can possibly get, all of them. But the baseball, football guys make me nervous. Mm-hmm. Is he a draftable prospect? That's what I got to find out. You can ask Les Miles about bringing in the number one quarterback in the country, and he's a draftable prospect in baseball. He's on your campus for 2 weeks, and you never get him. Now it sets your program back. So, it makes me nervous with the baseball guys. But, Reese, he can sling it to every point on the field. He's got really bad feet. He's so heavy at the top end of his drop. You'll watch film on him, and that back foot will hit the ground, and he'll skip hop into the next step behind, and it's working backwards. He needs some work on that. And again, he's a 23 kid. These are things that are easy to fix. So it's just a time doing with him, and he's going to be fine. He's got to do a better job of protecting the football in a crowd. He wants to separate his hands all the time, wave the ball around. Again, there's no coach in the country sweating anything like that. They're going to coach him up. You don't want a Mitch Mustaine. I don't want to go after a kid that he has hit his ceiling. I want a kid that, he's still got some growth to do and things like this. And I always just thought Mitch Mustaine, he was as good as he was going to get back when he came out. There was a big group of guys that, I've been doing this for a long time, looking at these quarterbacks, and he's one that sticks out. He and Will Korn. Will Korn was Troy Aikman, and he's picked the wrong school. He should never have gone to Clemson back then, but nobody listens to me. I just talk. But I do like the Mooney kid. He gets to the top of his drop, and even though he's heavy at the top, he deals the rock. He don't mess around with it. And I need accuracy, I need anticipation, I need a guy who doesn't take sacks and doesn't throw it into coverage. Hey, you can throw it into coverage, you back shoulder a guy or throw the guy caught. Mm-hmm. You throw it caught, you're okay. It's always whatever you do right. Be right on it. But I like this kid, and he's got a chance. Got a lot of work to do. He's like Walker, like Eli, he's a pick and stick guy right now. I expect great things out of Walker. Just seeing the 1 year of progress he's made. Reese needs that stuff, so he can get out of the pick and stick guy and learn to play beyond the X's and O's with head placement and feet and tie everything in together.
And winding it down, another sophomore who of this group is the least recruited thus far in Rickie Collins out of Woodlawn, Baton Rouge, another multi-sport guy, really fantastic basketball player for the Panthers this time of year, but has I think shown a lot of potential on the football field, but has not seen as much college attention come his way yet. And you hear sort of the same things that we talked about a little bit with Landry, where some coaches really want to see him in person and put him before their eyes physically at some camps. And so I think we may see some of that explosion on the trail in the next couple of months, assuming the normal camp opportunities are there. What have been some of your early impressions of Rickie, and what has stood out about him, as well as maybe some things you'd like to see him continue to tweak or fine-tune or build upon this offseason?
Well, Rickie Collins, I like that kid. I watched a little film on him. There's something there. There's something to this guy. I don't like to compare to, guys who have made it and stuff like that. But if you were going to look at a guy, I would compare him a little bit to Jake Delhomme, in that you can see on the field that, like Jake Delhomme, guys want to follow him. He doesn't have to. He's like the Pied Piper, man. They just want to get behind him and follow him. And there's something there. I wish he didn't have so much bend in his action. He needs to play 6'3". He drops down really low, but he's got some arm talent. He sees it. He throws good ball. Again, I've got to get in front of him and see him. I'd like to see full game tapes of him instead of highlight reels. But I think that's a cat that's got a really high ceiling, and he could be somebody big one day.
No doubt. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch him over these next few years and watch all these guys over the next few years, because a lot of them have a lot of high school football still ahead of them, let alone what comes beyond.
Yeah, and and the best part about these kids is you look at all these guys we're talking about. There's 3 or 4 others that are out there that just the competition between these kids, when they go to camps, when they go to different things, they're only going to make each other better. Maybe one day I'll get some of these guys together at the Elite Football Academy, and we all get in there and compete against each other like it was at Elite 11, where they got to go up against each other. They're only going to make each other better. There's what's the kid's name? Xavier T-Set or something?
Yeah, from Scotlandville, T-Set.
Yes. That's another cat that, there's something there with him. He's a lefty, and it's rare to get the lefties. A lot of things have to change and all this other stuff. But there's something behind that kid, too. He's got something going for him that, we'll have to look in deeper on it and see if we can provide any help to him.
Yeah, that 2023 class you mentioned, we only talk about 4 of them, and we had the 2 juniors, but that group in 2023 is going to be really deep with Zay and several others that just from a time constraint of the conversation standpoint, we could spend all day talking about some of the young talent coming through. But it's going to be an awful lot of fun to watch some of that competitive aspect in the training opportunities, as you mentioned, as well as some of these guys are going to be meeting up on Fridays for the next few years and make for some really fun Friday night football.
Yeah, it's going to be great for the state of Louisiana to watch some of this stuff because, here in the next coming years, you've got, Tanner Bailey, Landry, Lyddy, 2 of the best I've seen in the country. Ty Simpson, Gunnar Stockton, Quinn Ewers. He's got ball carriage and release issues that, I've got to. He'll probably get coached out of that in college, so I'm not really concerned with it. And then all the kids you talked about, Walker Howard, Eli Holstein, does Rhys Mooney and Rickie Collins grow? Arch is going to be there. It's going to be fun to watch these kids and the growth they have. But, at the end of the day, all these guys are going to go to Elite 11 and Under Armour and all this other stuff and compete against each other. And we'll find out more against them. More about them. And, I can't wait to see them compete against each other. They all got something special that they do. To me, Tanner Bailey and Landry Lyddy are the two best in the country, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that just because Liddy's my guy. If I'd never seen the kid, he can throw the football. It's ridiculous.
There you go. Well,
and take a look at that Tanner Bailey kid. I know he's not Louisiana, but that guy can go.
There you go. Man, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat about all these guys. And, man, hopefully we'll link it up again sometime and talk some more about whether some other guys or just some updates on these guys or whatever may come up.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jarrett. Thanks for having me. And like I said, I can't wait to watch the growth on these guys, especially Walker, Howard, Lyddy, and Holstein and Arch and all the guys we talked about, because just the jumps that they've made in 1 year, it's exciting. And it's going to be a great brand of football for Louisiana.
No doubt. Again, he's Billy Joe Tolliver, and for Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser. Thanks.
Appreciate y'all.